And thank you very much for joining us here on PM Express. My guest this evening is a man who has managed to turn one very important state institution from what it used to be to what it is currently. You probably would have heard about the State Enterprises Commission, which is no more, because he was instrumental in pushing this through cabinet, convincing the president to buy into it, and convincing his former colleagues in parliament to also embrace it and pass it. Right now, it's no longer the State Enterprises Commission. It is called the State Interest and Governance Authority, or SIGA. He's a man who doesn't shy away from controversy because he says it as it is. He once was the information minister. He was the local government minister once under the Kufuor administration. Some say he is a die-hard loyalist of the Kufuor faction within the NPP. Tonight, I'll get to ask him about that. Is that a myth or a reality? But most importantly, the work he's doing at his authority, which has been in place for the last few months. Stephen Asamabwating, also known popularly as Asabee, is my guest on PM Express today. And trust me, we'll talk about politics because he's a politician true and true. With 4 months on election, you cannot have a conversation with him without picking his brains on the weightier matters ahead of the election. Asamabwating, thank you very much for your time on PM Express.
Thank you, Evans. How are you?
I'm doing well. You?
I'm surviving as well. It's not easy, but...
I like the word surviving because there were rumors that you had tested positive for COVID-19.
Well, I got the rumor myself, but no, I'm okay. I look after myself well. I take serious view of the protocols, and today, you remember when I saw the numbers, I said, let's keep the numbers down and also keep the distance. So we got very good distance between us, and that's good. So I'm okay. By the grace of God, I'm okay.
It must scare you, though, does it not? I mean, you've had some of your colleagues, a good friend of yours, a good friend of mine as well, Sir John, passed recently. May he so rest in perfect peace. A lot of your colleagues have tested positive as well. The president is in isolation. This is a time of great crisis. We'll talk about the economic impact and some of the institutions that you supervise, but at the personal level, it's taking a toll, is it not?
Yeah, very personal level. Sir John was my senior at secondary school. I was his choir master at SDA Church in Sakura Ono. I was also the choir master at the Konoduma Secondary School. So I've associated with Sir John for a long time, both secondary school, university, and in London. So it came as a shock. Indeed, I was talking to him 2-3 weeks before his death, untimely death, because there was one particular concession, forest concession area where the DIC then sold it. And there's a bit of a controversy, so I had to stop all activities there, and I had to work with Sir John and the minister, so it was a personal shock. Then my friend Dan Botre, also myself and Dan goes a long way back, even into exile in Abidjan.
You were once in exile, people don't remember that. Under the watch of Mr. Rawlings.
PNDC.
Yes.
Mr. Rawlings, or Flight Lieutenant Rawlings, funny enough, I assisted in doing the cocoa evacuation at that time, but he didn't have a clue what he was up to. So the students turned up against him, and I was declared a persona non grata. So I had to basically move out of Ghana and ended up in London, served Margaret Thatcher, and came back under Kufuor. And so I've had a long history. But my colleagues are also suffering from the COVID. So I'm cautious. I'm very conscious. And we are interacting. We are in government, so we're working. And obviously, we always have the danger. But God being so good, I'm okay. And they also come out of a serious situation. And we thank God for that. Sir John, we learn lessons from that. And condolences to your wife and the family and everybody.
Talking about COVID, it's had an impact on the many institutions that you supervise. I mean, we've heard about COCOBOL's head office shutting down, BOSS also been affected, Ministry of Finance, and many others. I mean, are there others that you know of that we haven't heard publicly?
I know about 3 already, but they are not shut. They are not shut. The head office was closed.
Which one is this?
Well, it's not even closed, but a wing had been closed for a while. Greco, I can name them. The others, I need to get some more information today. Right, when you finish, I will get to know. But yeah, we're all looking closely at our operations and interactions and reducing the numbers, and so yes, we are in constant review of what's going on. So we are all worried, but I think we are managing it. You don't know, even the WHO doesn't know what's whether it's in
you
the
talk
air
about
or
managing, that
whatever.
is putting it mildly. I mean, because if you talk about BOS, you talk about
Cocoa
Cocoa
board,
Board. The Cocoa Board has been a major contributor to the economy for years.
Yeah.
This economy rides on the back of a syndicated loan. Are we heading for an economic crisis, or are we in one already?
No, we've had contingency plans put in place in March. And I remember a directive from the president to all of us was to prepare ourselves for the uneventful or eventful COVID impact on us. So we developed our ICT infrastructure very well. And from March, April, most of our meetings, board management, are virtually conducted. And so we've taken into account all of them. And directives have gone out to the board chairs and the board members as to how to engage with management and try and prevent the spread. So yes, you like it or not, there will be some incidents, but we'll manage it.
Do you expect more to be affected?
I hope not, because we're now talking to everybody what are the measures to put in place since then. And the case of BOS was a bit strange because a whole batch of about 27 thereabout all tested positive, which was a bit strange. I'm told today, Monday, they will do a second test, so we'll know the actual numbers. Cocoa Board, there were a few who tested positive, but they had to take precaution and shut down the head office. But the CEOs have set up off-site offices where they have to go and sign documents if they have to. Alternatively, it's scanned to them at home and they scan it back. And so there's uninterrupted business going on. The continuity of government business is my concern, is a concern of the president. And for us, we need to make sure the government business goes on.
The president says that he knows, he and his government know how to revive, bring back the economy. You have 4 months of major elections.
Yeah.
People have lost your jobs. Can you turn this around and revive it before the elections? Because that, as you, when you were in Kufuor's administration, had told us, you are sitting in top upper. COVID means a lot of people are looking into their personal lives and thinking, this is bad. That can cost you politically.
Well, yes and no. Yes, because obviously when people lose their jobs, it doesn't matter what it is, it's personal, it hit them, the family. And so life becomes a bit gloomy. And so there's no feel-good factor anywhere. And that may translate into votes. But it's a point of it's communication, isn't it? It's how it came about and what is the hope or what are the plans to revive the economy. Then they begin to understand, yeah, it's a temporary problem, and so we can overcome it. Indeed, that's what we're trying to explain. COVID hit all of us, United States, UK, everybody. At first, we all thought it wasn't our problem, it was a Chinese problem, but nobody really anticipated it. But since then, the President has taken measures which have put the economy in a way that was not, well, let me put it this way, it was going bad. And he quickly put in measures. Remember his directive to the Minister of Finance to put in some alleviation measures. And then, of course, took the measures on the ECG, the electricity tariffs and water. So there were measures, and of course, the frontline workers, the health. He had to do that. Although money is difficult to come by, but if we put our brains to it, we can find. And Minister of Finance done extremely well under the circumstance. So, for instance, let me give an example of, we anticipated or we estimated dividend payment, for instance, to the consolidated account from our SOEs of somewhere around 1.2 billion thereabout. But now it's come down drastically. It's not completely been eradicated or it's not completely vanished, but we are all lowering our estimation and also revising our notes and budgets and our programs. And so we are getting some dividends coming, but not all of them. As you can see, there's a check standing here, which I was expecting more than that. I was expecting about 16 million, but they brought 9 million. So yes, if we had not put in place those measures, we would have lost the 9 million from one of the companies. So it's not bad. So I would assure people that the measures have put us on an even keel. It's not as bad as we thought initially. But between an election, it's not easy creating jobs. I mean, that one, we must be frank about it. But there are areas that jobs can be created, like the NIEP, the initiative from the National Entrepreneurial Initiative Program, so that it's not government creating, it's your personal initiative, which we are training people. I also noticed the YEA also getting involved with Ministry of Sports, for instance, to create jobs within the sports industry. So there are areas we do, and of course the President created a 600 million for the Coronavirus Alleviation Fund, which I'm informed that a lot of small businesses are benefiting across the country. So we're taking measures to alleviate it. It's not in normal times, but we can do something that would limit the damage.
Let's talk about SIGA. So you were recently turned into an authority.
Yeah.
I wonder, I mean, since your establishment, does it only exist in name, or you're making real measurable impact? And what is the impact?
Well, thank you very much for the question, because when I came here, it was the State Enterprise Commission, as you may well know, and then the Diversity Implementation Committee was also on its own, disposing of shares of state or assets of the state. And so we looked at the whole spectrum of government business, and from since independence, how the state has created business to have an economic impact on the lives of people very quickly, and also take the commanding heights of the state, as in Nkrumah's time used to be, and also try and create employment. But there was no oversight group that really manages it on behalf of the state. Different attempts as Enterprise Secretariat under Nkrumah, and then it came to a Champions time where we had the holding companies. That's where Gihawk came out with. And then it came to State Enterprise Commission by the PNDC law. And we needed to bring all of them together. And that's how I thought through and sat down with the president. And he understood and was very supportive. He has a very good memory of the past, the history of the country. And we're sinking money into enterprises, nothing was coming out of it. Obviously, they come back with debt and bailouts, and the ESLA bond, for instance, came out, and the areas that we have to inject more cash or taxpayers' money. So the interest of the state was important. And for us, two key elements of the new law or the new authority is the ownership. Who owns those companies on behalf of the people? We realized the shareholding was spread alongside a lot of ministries, finance, majority holding most of them. Agric has some, Ministry of Trade and Industry has some. Then the Controller and Accountant General holds the share certificate. So we needed to have an ownership policy where there's a direction. And then the second one was governance, corporate governance aspect. We all know that corporate governance is key to efficiency and effective organizations if you want to make profit or run it properly. And so we looked at how the boards are set up, who appoints them, and the MDs and top management, and how the workforce relate to the board, and the architecture of governance where there is no interferences and all that. Because we all know that in the past you see a board chairman and an MD or a CEO having a conflict of interest and all that. So those areas we looked at, and that's what informed the new authority. And indeed, there was a task force set up, backed by the World Bank, and some money given to us to start with, and I was part of the task force, and we shaped it going through the president to cabinet and through to Parliament. And Parliament understood the essence of it. Now remember, Speaker of Parliament, Right Honourable Michael Kwei, was very passionate about this, and this will solve our problem. Indeed, it's not just in book, it's turnaround. 4 key areas that we have managed to bring some sanity into the SOEs and the joint venture. There was what was known as a performance contract signing. But when
with
I
the
came,
heads?
Sorry?
With the heads of the
with the whole institution. So Cocoa Board, ECG, Ghana Water, Ghana Airports, Ghana Gas, GMPC, as an institution. Of course, they are represented by the management and the board chair. So we involve all of them. And we sign performance contracts. And we look at 4 key areas where we look at your finance or the stroke economy. So you're looking at the revenue.
So you're giving them targets in terms of revenue?
Yes. So, well, we don't give them target. You negotiate with us. We call the negotiation time from about October to November, and we negotiate. What can you do? We look at your accounts, your audited accounts over the past 5 years. What have you been doing? And what's your projection? Of course, you come with your budget and what you're projecting and your strategic plan. And then we negotiate with you, say, okay, under finance, what's the capacity there to achieve? Then we go to what we call, number 2, the efficiency and productivity. So what is it that you can do that you haven't done before? So we look at your net surplus, your liquidity, your return on accumulated funds and all of that. And then we move to what we call the dynamic effect. So for instance, your submission of your corporate plans, are they on time and are they achievable and timely? Then we look at the last one, which we also looked at, is the management improvement. So your audited accounts, are they audited on time? Do they come in and improve on your finances? And then database, how you build your database, how do you know your customers? And quickly they all sat up, and then we restarted the negotiation. So in 2017, when I came here, it had not been done for nearly 5 years.
Yeah, although the regulations say they must do.
The regulations say they must do.
I want to take a quick break. When I return, we're going to interrogate this a bit more. Is it all talk because some of these stations have been there for years? How are they complying with what Asabee is doing? And if they are not, does he even have the power to sanction? And we'll get into some of the specific institutions that have become pretty controversial recently. Stay with me. Thanks for staying with me here on PM Express. Stephen Asamabuating is my guest. You know him popularly as Asabee. Mr. Mabuating, so you were talking about all the things that you have been doing with the state enterprises. You talked about setting them, discussing, negotiating targets, etc. But we've had this before. I mean, there was a whole ministry set up the time when your government was in power to reform.
Public sector reform.
Nothing came of it. Why do you think that you will be different?
Well, public sector reform is slightly different from what I'm doing here. Although there's a relationship, we're more or less concentrating on government business. So the state-owned enterprises, joint venture companies, and now the law has given us, extended it to regulators as to ensure that they are performing their regulatory body work properly. And so the question is, and even the public sector reform achieved a lot, except that along the way somehow it just slipped. And it's our attitude. The problem with public sector working environment is the attitude of the Ghanaian.
How long have you been in? How long has this SIGA been?
A year. Okay. In fact, exactly a year in June last month.
Where is the evidence that you are actually bearing fruit and yielding results?
Well, the law has now given us teeth to bite, whereas in the past never had a teeth to bite. So there were no sanctions. Right now, as I speak to you,
you have the teeth, but have you bitten?
I haven't bitten to your knowledge, but I have.
So tell me. That's what I'm asking for, the evidence.
Well, I don't need to sanction my people publicly now. I mean, but they know
this is about accountability.
Let me give you, but let me give you an example. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example. Like a PBC,
a produce buying
company. They were set up to buy cocoa from the internet. Along the way, we allow foreign buying companies to enter, and they had liquidity to go into the hinterlands to buy. They were not going to the farm gate. Rather, they will get the agents to buy them and store them, and they go and take them. So they were taking the cream of the whole industry. So we had to come in as a SIGA with Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Agric and threatened. I said, look, you got to have your strategy correct. You are the farm gate. You must have the money to do that. So we look at the accounts. They were engaged in other activities which are not profitable. In the hotel industry, the haulage was leaking. And so we took measures. Myself and the minister.
You threatened them with what?
With sanctions. Sanctions range from being dismissed.
As in you're dismissing the CEO of the
produce yes, or dismissal, and even to the point of
you cannot dismiss him because you didn't appoint him. The president does.
Well, not me. No. So don't give it to Asabee, please. It's the president. So don't personalize it to me. My job is to advise and talk to the ministers.
So you recommend to the president to sack him?
In our law, yes, we do have the power to recommend.
A lot of these people are your friends. You can't do that.
But I don't work as a friend when I'm here. This is a public office, and public office I work for the people of Ghana.
So are you telling me that a lot of your friends that you've been in power with before, you can actually say, you want me to believe that a politician will do that?
Well, let me give you a typical example of my own friend Josh Pond group of companies.
That is the
Akwetia
story, the Ghana Consolidated Diamonds Limited.
Yeah, we'll come down to that. He's my personal friend. I know him very well, and I was part of his
You abrogated his contract.
Sorry?
You abrogated the contract. You terminated it.
What, the Akwetia one?
Yes.
Well, I had to repossess it because he breached his own agreement with us. And the agreement was quite clear how a government takes over our own asset, which you never paid. And if you didn't pay, he's my friend, but I took it over. And he knows that there's a friendship level and there's a business of the state.
The difference between him and the others, he is a personal friend, but he is not a political friend.
Well, I am working.
He's not in the fraternity of MPP. My question to you is, you say you can recommend for your colleagues who you serve in government with, some of them before, to be sanctioned or sacked. I'm telling you, I'm putting it to you that many people won't believe you.
That is not true. I mean, I have worked with the Minister of Agri, for instance. Why do you think we changed the management of PBC? See, I'm not going to go into it.
Did they say now. PBC produced buying company?
Yes, and we changed them. We changed the board, we changed the MD. And because the direction
so that was based on your recommendation? Well,
we worked together as a team, a minister of Agri, Afri Akoto, and we had to step out. We had to put our foot down, so they had to go. And there are 3 areas we are looking at. We have had this time to discuss some changes. You know, the changes that took place in Bosch, for instance. Some MDs were relieved of position.
A lot of them.
I had to be called, and I have to be involved in the discussion. And the president took a decision. And the president always will call me and we discuss it.
There have been 2 removals from Bosch. You were involved in all that?
I won't go into personal. I won't go into detail, but I can tell you I've been involved in every one of them. Every one of them. And so for me, we work as a team, and looking at their performance, I can then give factual information to His Excellency the President, who then based on that would take a decision.
You've been choking your colleagues, as they say. You've been choking your colleagues.
No, I haven't. They know exactly what the ground rules are, that they have to perform and turn around the businesses, and I'm glad they are doing it. And indeed, it didn't have to take the sanction element to do that. What I've tried to do here is not go head on with sanction. What I came here to do is to create an environment for us to work together. So we created what we call the Chamber of CEOs. And we work together as a team. We've met several times outside Accra, and we have even elected amongst ourselves with Dr. Sapon, KK Sapon, who is the head. I just coordinate for them. And we have brought together a team who knows that if one falls, we all fall. And we learn from each other. What 3 objectives we set up? Trading among ourselves, so that somebody has, or a business is going in an enterprise, they can sell off to another one. Then also to learn from each other, knowledge sharing. And then we also peer review. So if one CEO is misbehaving, I have set up a team of conflict resolution of 8 people. 3 CEOs, top CEOs, 3 board chairs, and 2 top cabinet ministers. So it is not always sanctioning. It's talking to them and say, look, you are veering off. Your peer colleagues will bring you to book. So I am not choking anybody, but they know the ground rules. That if you don't perform, it goes to that group, and they will recommend, and it goes to the president. And that they have understood it. And so for me, the law was also part of their own work. This law, it didn't come from me as a be on my own. If they had not contributed, and the stakeholder involvement in Parliament and my colleague CEO, it wouldn't have come to fruition. I've got even the order paper in Parliament, which some of the CEOs were with me in Parliament. And what I've tried to do is cultivate a team spirit, that it is government business, and government business is not friendship. So if you step outside the boundary, you will be in line of fire. And then they understand it. They are professionals. But we've been working as a team.
Let me bring the Ghana Consolidated Diamonds Limited. You touched on it. You were in Akwetia with the president.
Yes.
On the back of the controversy, which after you had terminated the contract, and just one, the group fought you publicly on this. The president promised when he was in Akwetia that he will revive the mine. It's been more than a year. Has the mine been revived?
No, it's not a year. We moved in September on the 19th. And the president came there some early part of this year. We set up an IMC to manage it for us, whose term has come to an end, and we have moved to re-divest the business. So it's a huge step from where it was going.
So you're selling it to another private company?
No, another private company. We are going public. It will
so
be
it's going
public.
To be 100%
once
by the state?
Well, I am discussing 100%. But
when you say going to the public, you're going to list it on the public on the stock exchange?
Well, it can be part of the solution. We've given options, and those options will be put to cabinet. Until that happens, the details I would reserve it for now. But what I can tell you is that we've done all the paperwork, the expression of interest unsolicited, about 8 companies, both foreign and local. My personal view and President's view on business of the state is we need local content or Ghanaian participation if majority would be a good idea for us. So we're looking at that. Everybody who comes in, so we don't...
But you already had a Ghanaian company.
Yeah, but the fact that you're a Ghanaian company, if you're not performing, doesn't mean we should leave you to
But
destroy
they dispute that.
Oh,
they dispute that.
But he went to court and took it out. He's come back to court again, and we're in court again on the 16th. And he knows my position on these matters. He never performed. Out of $17 million he was supposed to pay, he only paid $3.8 million. And $3.8 million was target. So what? Government money has to be paid in tots and tots? No. Government needs his money, bring it up. He never paid, and I had to terminate it. He knows the score. But the point is that it's state business. It's not for him, it's for all of us, including the people of Akwatia and the environs. And once we get a good interest and it's open, it will be on the table, nothing underneath the table, everything openly.
Can the Jospon Group put in a bid?
They haven't expressed interest yet, but for me, when it goes to public, I would look at every bid that comes in. Then we have a panel, my board is in agreement with me, and we set up a committee to evaluate every bid.
The people of Akwatia had the president. They have 4 months before your first term ends. What results can you promise them in 4 months?
Well, I can tell you that we have secured the environment in the past where things were being taken away without any account. We've stopped the rot and we put in security measures, and we have identified the assets, everything, the tailings and the deposits, and we know what is in there. And so they are happy, and I speak to the Akwatia Hene and speak to the overlord, Oche Hene quite regular, I speak to the president as well. My job is to talk, is to communicate, so you don't have a gap. And they know the stage I've reached now, which is almost at the point of divestment or redivestment. Unfortunately, Jospon went to court for another rate, which we are meeting, as I said, in the court on the 16th. And for us, it's a rehash of the old one. Once that is out of the way, I am in public in terms of expression of interest. So we have moved a lot.
New plan let's talk about in January, shutdown. You were heard promising that you were allowed to go down. You remain shut down?
No, it's not shut down. We're grateful to the other partner, the Fadul group, and they have been sustaining New Plan all this while.
New Plan is still operating?
It's joint venture. Government has 55% and the Fadul group has 45%.
But they announced a shutdown. I'm asking whether they are operating.
They are operating, yes, they are operating.
They're still assembling New Plan?
Well, they haven't had supplies yet. No business has come to them. And last week I was speaking to the MD.
So they aren't working?
The MD has now bid for business and looking for some support, and I've written on their behalf to support them, to Ghana Revenue and SNATE to support them, because there were few problems with their payments of these taxes. But there's a long-term plan to resuscitate the industry. And there's a whole automobile industry, and so I'm working with the Ministry of Trade and Industry, and we are supporting New Plan. And indeed, there's a plan to look at a possible dilution of our shares so that it can be properly capitalized.
But this was said early in the year.
Well, it doesn't happen overnight.
What substantively has happened since then?
Well, what substantively have happened that we've almost agreed on what percentage we have to dilute.
How much percentage are you talking about?
Well, let me keep it that way till we sign on the dotted lines now. There's a third party that has entered, and they are also looking at a further dilution of the government business, which I'm very happy with my board.
I know you're considering it, but it would be good to have a sense of what government is thinking in terms of the percentage you want to cede.
Well, we're looking for capitalization. Government, in terms of finances, it's not in a healthy in terms of supporting and capitalizing it. So any private sector participation with good financial background, we'll look at it.
Yeah, so how much are you prepared to see?
Well, as I said, it's ordinary because as a third party has entered, they want more than we are offering them.
So share with us how much you're offering.
We're 55, I can tell you.
So you want to see 55?
We're looking at 20% for the Fadools and another 20 for the new investors. So we hold 15.
So that you see how much?
Well, we see it about 40 off.
So the government is considering ceding 40%
Considering
of your stake in your plan.
Exactly.
Okay.
And they then capitalize.
And then capitalize.
They
and then giving that stake to another private entity.
Yeah, another 20 to another private.
Okay, but the private entity wants more than 40.
Well, they want more than 40, but it's also, that's the whole negotiation, the beauty of it. It's negotiating, but also getting the approvals and also getting the public interest. So yes, expression of interest have come in, they've come in, I said, well, we'll look at it, but we'll go public. There's nothing that will be done outside public interest. So we'll go public, and others who might be interested in your plan can come forward.
Okay, let's we'll talk about politics and take a break and come and talk about politics. But before we do that, another state agency that is under your watch, and this very briefly before I even go to Maslock, it's the Ghana Airports Company. Are you selling it?
No.
Be categorical about it.
No.
You're not selling it.
No.
So is it going to remain in the hands of the state? As
We
it
have
is now?
100% ownership now.
Yeah, that won't change.
Well, let me put it this way. I am looking at strategically all the state's interests from SIGA's point of view. We have prepared a strategic document for cabinet, which will be going soon, but I can share some few ideas in it. It's to classify the state's interests into 3 areas. One is that the first category is which ones government must hold, 100%, and what are the reasons for that. My team is working on that. I've got a first draft and I've asked them to do some few work, and then it goes to my board, and then it goes to our minister, and then to the cabinet. Second group is those that we need a private funding or private participation. So those are we looking at JVCs, joint venture. And then the last category, those that must be offloaded, completely divested, sold off. And which we're looking at all the options, either complete a private sector to take it over or sell it to the stock market.
So government is considering
3 options, 3 categories.
Including selling off to a private person.
Well, let me tell you what I can easily tell you that Ghana Airports Company, we're looking at the middle level, which is the joint venture. Okay. We're looking at private participation.
So private, public-private partnership.
Yes, partnership.
Okay.
Both either in management or combination of management and also shareholding.
Okay.
But so we're not selling. We are looking at the option of how do we capitalize and also make Ghana as the hub, aviation hub in the West Africa.
But certainly, what you're considering will no longer make the state government the only shareholder.
No, not the only.
Okay.
It's an option that we will look at private sector participation. But why government wants to hold everything together on its own? I mean, if you cannot capitalize yourself, why are you not letting people come in? And so, as I said, these are strategic decisions.
So just for clarity, you are not selling Ghana Airports Company, but you're looking for private partners.
Private partners may well be management, may well be shareholding arrangement, may well also be just helping us strategically how we benefit from their experiences. And so the minister was with me this morning. I think you saw him before he went.
Yes.
And I've been speaking to the board chair. So those are options that we have. And as I said, I'm reluctant to give you the details because it's still an option.
Okay.
But I can tell everybody that we are not selling Ghana Airports Company. Okay. We're looking at the options available.
Very briefly on the Maslock. And this Maslock one had been brought to bear because of work that was done by CDD recently in your primaries. CDD did some work on corruption. And I noticed that your responsibility is also to monitor and evaluate and make sure that they found that the deputy CEO of Maslock had used her position to, because she was running in the ND in the primary, use her position at Maslock to entice voters and giving them Maslock loans, etc. And she was spoken to, she admitted that, yeah, she did that. I mean, they applied and they got it. The delegates applied and they got it. And so there was no problem in there. I mean, some say that shouldn't happen, especially one of your mandates is to ensure profitability, right, of the state enterprises. And that means running a business like you're running a private entity. No private entity will give loans because the people may vote for me. Is this something that you endorse, by the way?
Well, Evans, let me put it this way. Maslock is not a profit-making organization, number one. Number two, I read the report in the social media, and there was no backing of any evidence of what she did was wrong.
I mean, but she admitted that
but without necessarily going into the details of it, I've run public office before. Maslock is available to every Ghanaian, every Ghanaian. And if they apply and they qualify, they are offered. I'm not sure she gave it as an inducive. I'm not too sure about that, unless you have evidence to prove that. Unless you tell me the people in Yendi didn't have the right to apply.
The MPP delegates.
But unless you tell me they are not paying back, unless you tell me it's a free money.
But you know, in this game, if you give it to MPP delegates, there's a sense of ownership. Isn't that why most state agencies
let's not go into an MPP delegate matter, because really, as I said, they are Ghanaians who may have applied. And I know Ghanaians in my constituency, they are MPP NDC, and who are not in Yendi, they applied and they've got it. They got it during the last 2 months.
MPP delegates apply and they got it just around the primaries.
My people
that promotes
I can tell you, people in Infantimine got Maslock last month during the primaries. Why are you not bringing that in?
No, but did the Infantiman, first of all, we're talking about the deputy CEO of Maslock, who is contesting in Yendi, who then approves the loans to the delegates.
She doesn't.
Well, she herself did the speech in which she says she gave delegates and uses it as a campaign message.
Well,
that clearly must be something wrong there. Must be at least an abuse of office.
No, it's not. Listen to me. I would not go down that line, because, first of all, there's no evidence that she gave it to MPP delegates not to pay back, and that those people who got are not Ghanaians. That's the first point. There are Ghanaians like the people in my constituency who are Ghanaians, or in my father's constituency or area in Konongo, as Antiachimison, who are Ghanaians. And I have evidence that a lot of people got the money. How those in Yendi got it, and as I said, she hasn't got the approval to do. There's a boss, there's a CEO there. And it wouldn't have gone past without the CEO involved, and there would be a process. There's a board chairman. And so when the CDD jumps into conclusion and doesn't give me evidence for me to tackle it, if you have evidence, show it to me.
The evidence is she herself, admitting that yes,
that they are not Ghanaians, and she gave money to them.
That she gave the money, and that in one of the speeches she said she was campaigning with that as a trump card, as a deputy who gives loans to delegates ahead of a primary. That is abuse of office.
But maybe she was not probably aware that as she gave names of her delegates, because everybody would try and protect their little or their empire or circle. But the process goes to the top, to management, to board. Part of those who also benefited are not in her constituency. So if she said my delegate, she would have used it for her own primaries, if that's what she said.
Which is what she said.
But the people in my constituency also got around the same time. Yeah, but she didn't come across with that. So maybe it's a communication something. But let me say that it is not just restricted to Yendi. I know that people in my constituency got it. I'm constantly in touch with them. And in fact, Stika, who is the boss, Steve Namwa, I've been trying to reach him and thank him for some of my people who have got it. Because there's demand for
politicization of Maslow.
No, it's not. But the people in my constituency are not just MPP. I spread my wings. I mean, wherever I am, check my constituency. People have taken to a lot of employment.
CDD says they're going to apply to SHRA to investigate. Oh, let them believe that is an abuse.
Well, let them do it, and I would also investigate. But let me tell you that from what I've seen and heard.
But you've already taken a position. Why would you investigate then? You believe she didn't do anything wrong. Why would you want to investigate?
But I haven't got proof. You are telling me today. I've read it on social media. I haven't heard her speak. If CDD has the evidence and they are willing to show it to me, and I know Kwesi Prembe, I talked to Kwesi Prembe, and that's the beauty of our democracy. We know each other now. So if I got it, I can sit them down and tell them that, look, if you see, have you also looked at the others who were not in Yendi who got it? Maybe that would change up his position. Now, it's not really a parochial interest. So don't let us zoom in into her personality.
I'm going to talk about the 2020 elections. And I want to ask him a question about, he used to be the information minister under Kufuor. He played a very important role in the lead up to the 2008 elections, correct?
2008, yeah.
Yes. I will ask him about his views on the campaign so far. When we return, I see him closing his book because he's going into a territory he's very comfortable with. When we return, Asama Boateng on politics and 2020 election. Thanks for staying with us on PM Express. Stephen Asama Boateng is still my guest. You were the information minister in the lead up to the 2008 elections. I wonder what your assessment of the government information communications machinery is going into the 2020 elections.
Well, my impression is that the minister is performing well, and he's setting out his agenda quite clearly, what he wants to do. His approach is the flow of information to the populace, not only by the media encounters he has, but he also has his information service people on the ground. I know the structure, so I know how he's working. Some of them are very quiet, but he's delivering. He's also making use of his own personal touch, which as a former media guy from you guys, he's got this affable nature, which eases tension and pressure. And he's one of the best ministers I've seen at that ministry. We were all there, he's learning, but he's got the potential to really make it. And towards 2020 election, he's made it non-controversial. He's made it like, look, if there's anything, ask me, I'll answer you. It's not hitting back and countering and propaganda and Opon Nkrumah has come across as a very fine gentleman who's learning very fast.
You're not saying that when you were there you did a bit of propaganda, are you saying?
Propaganda is not there. That's the point. The civil servants would not allow you to do propaganda. So when I hear people say you do propaganda information, that's not true. What you could do if you want to is to engage the party angle to carry on, because there's also a party communication aspect. There's always a relationship between government and party. You try to separate the powers and let the party not interfere. But who are the best communicators of your policy? It's your party members. So if you engage your party communication, let them deal with it. Give them the factual. Let them deal. But you, as a minister, don't get into that. And he's done that factual.
But the communication information goes beyond the minister.
Yes.
I asked you to assess the machinery beyond him, the entire government machinery. There's a sense that it's been lacking.
Not really, because you see, when you are in government, you are working in action mode. You need that election time to switch on, which is almost like come in.
We are in now.
The problem we have because of COVID, we haven't noticed the switch, and so sadly everybody is doing it. But we are in the mood already, and the campaign mood is kicked in. So he's now activating that structure of everyone, and the ministers are part, the CEOs are part, because from even my point, my job is to engage my colleagues to talk about the business of government, not the politics. Let's leave the politics from our end to the party communicators and then the minister. But from our end as CEO, you have been entrusted with managing a state asset. How have you turned it around? And there are good stories across. And so I'm setting the tone, and from now you hear more of me. They would then be coming in one by one. So that is one other structure. But then the political structure is also the ministers who are handling the portfolios also come in. The district chief executives who have been representing the president at the grassroots also must come in. Assembly members, whether government or even other party or independent or appointees, they are managing a unit or assembly area with the unit committees. They have a role to play. So if there are positives, sell it. And for me, we have performed well. The party MPP have performed extremely well considering the time we've got and the kind of legacy we came to inherit. The debt and the crisis that we came to make. President has made it quite clear what his options are, and he's delivered. And indeed, I mean, other than going through all the programs, the few that stands out, we've delivered. And so for me, it is not a difficult job for the minister.
To win or lose this year will also depend on what your opponents do. John Mahama just selected a woman to be his running mate. What do you make of the John Jane ticket?
Put it this way, the nomination of Professor Nana Jane Opoku Agyemang doesn't push us into any panic mode at all. Don't forget, she's good at what she did when she was at University of Cape Coast. And you don't forget that it was President Kufuor who nominated her.
You've endorsed her. She was good at what she did.
When she was at UCC. Listen to me carefully. But not when she was a Minister of Education. She did not perform well. And you have heard all the stories about allowances here, cutting there, and training and salaries and all that. But the key thing is the performance, and the Minister for Education will handle that. But for me, it's a welcome news that they've finally got a running mate, but it doesn't put us in any panic mode. Indeed, and Vice President Bawumia, Dr. Bawumia said it, it doesn't matter who they bring, it will not change the incompetence of the leader. And I'm surprised my own friend John Mahama wants to come back and have a second bite. What is it that he could not do in 8 years, which he himself said that under Professor Mills.
For 4 years.
Sorry?
He was the president for 4 years.
Well, he said that Professor Mills, he was the most luckiest vice president, and Professor Mills allowed him to run the country. And he said it, I didn't say it. So he had a chance. And he'd been a politician before that, a minister, MP. So what is it that he's going to do that he couldn't do? It's like a regret, and he wants to have a second bite. But I don't have a problem with that. But the Ghanaian would decide that, look, you performed at this level, Akufo-Addo, president, has performed at this level, let's compare the notes. And so for me, it's a very unique opportunity that we can call him to his own record. Not another president who we are calling to record, but him. And so the professor doesn't add anything. It is John Mahama's picture and his name and everything. He cannot hide away and say, I've got a vice, so I'm hiding away, the vice come ahead. It cannot be the case.
Let's talk about yourself and the MPP and the politics going in. You once challenged Nana-Addo to the presidential ticket of your party, and you lost in the primaries. Many look at you as one of those die-hard loyal people to John Kufuor. That you belong to the John Kufuor faction as opposed to the Nana-Addo faction. Are you still loyal to former President John Kufuor?
The word loyal it's not a word. I mean, that is a wrong terminology. I'm loyal to my party. I'm loyal to the leader of my party. There are obviously myths around that Asabee belonged. I was a minister under Kufuor, for Christ's sake, for crying out loud. I served my leader, and so I served him with my utmost loyalty because the party had elected him as a leader and he's the president. Right now, the leader of my party and the president is Nana-Addo Dankwa Kufuor. My loyalty is the party and the leader of the party. So you don't belong to the Kufuor faction? Well, I belong to the party called MPP, and whoever comes up as the leader, I support him. Indeed, you are right, I threw in my heart. But I can tell you on fact, before I went to the contest, I went to see him.
Who?
Oh, Nana-Addo Dankwa Kufuor, then candidate. And I must be frank with everybody here, and I told him that I know he will win. But in Akan language, we said, Penny Nanti-Krum on his own. So I'm coming to help him carry his bag in case he get tired along the way, then he hand over the baton to me. That was a move that he appreciated. And I told him he will win. He's an old fox. He had been there before. He had tricks, I don't have the trick. But hey, I've been in the party for long and I believed I could also spring a surprise like the David. If you remember, my catchphrase was the David. Asabee do the do. And, but I always believed he had the upper hand. And he did. As soon as he won, I threw in my heart. That is the beauty of democracy. Yeah, I mean, are you content with the role he's given you? From a minister to chief executive, and what are you implying that
some say it's a demotion.
No. See what's in front of me here. All the legal document, Procurement Act, SIGA Act, Public Financial Management, everything, including every one of them has a bearing on state business. And
but you're still not a minister.
Sorry?
You don't sit in cabinet.
Well, why do you have to be in cabinet every time? I've been a minister. Why? I mean, am I born to be a minister every time? No.
So you're happy?
There are roles. You don't have to be a minister. You don't have to be even an MP. You don't have to be a CEO. The key thing is to be part of a team. And when a team is operating, you have a role to play. At my level and experience, I always have a function. I don't have even to hold a position. I will always have a voice in the party. So you're content? Oh, of course, I'm more than content. Look, from where I'm coming from, and that's what most people don't get, some of us who are village people who come to Accra. I was born in Konomu. Those days, we will never go to Accra. Go to Accra for what? I'm content in Accra. I was content in Jessica. I was content in Tepa. Have you given up on your presidential ambition? Let me put it this way. You see, from where I came from, and being where I am, God being so good, education. If it wasn't education, I'll be holding the tail of maybe a rat or something selling, or climbing the coconut, or dragging the net from the sea. Education has brought me where I am. And that's why President Kufuor has put education ahead. If you educate one child in the family, he becomes a beacon.
Yeah, I mean, but finally, have you given up on your presidential ambition?
But I don't have one.
But you challenged one.
Who said I was? And I told you I went to him and said he will win.
I get it, but going forward in the future, Nana won't be there all the time.
I have a job to do. That's number one. Okay. There's no vacancy. Number two. Number
when
three.
When the vacancy comes, will you challenge?
But I'm just giving you the reason why I don't have an ambition now.
Okay.
I don't have it.
Okay.
The point is, I've got a job to do. I'm delivering to the president, Nana Kufuor, and his vice president, and the cabinet and the party. That's my number one job. If I don't deliver, forget about anything you have. So I don't even have an ambition. What I have is an ambition to deliver. And the ambition is that the party succeed and win the next general election, which I'm working towards it.
Okay.
I'm no more the member of parliament. But last weekend, for the past week, I've been there. I am promoting my MP. I want Kwanzaa Hayford to win.
You're campaigning. I'm grateful that you join us on PM Express.
Thank you.
That's Sivina Samabwate. Enjoy the rest of it.